one thing that I saw really get to him was when there was the reporting from the Atlantic that Trump had called our fallen heroes, our fallen military men and women, suckers and losers. It's the one time I saw a negative story just become an obsession of his, because it was just so not true, so deeply hurtful. He kept saying over and over again, what kind of monster would do that? We had 24 sources on the record with their names on it saying this was not true. But they ran with the egregious lie because they were trying to cleave away the military base that is strongly supportive of Trump away from him.
What do we do about the press? Because I spend more of my time, I think, talking about the press and the mainstream media more than I do about politics specifically. I actually find that far more interesting. It's like politics sort of is what it is, but it's the filter that's more interesting to me, because that's what shapes how we all act and behave and think about all of it.
Yeah, it fascinates me. I think, one of, I guess, my deep frustrations is the fact, I brought accountability from the podium. I obviously had a massive platform to do it. CNN and MSNBC had to report on the things I was saying, even if they contorted it. But now, being in the private sector, the megaphone's less, and it's easy you don't have a Republican press secretary to let go all of these stories that have been proven false, that day in and day out. I told the press till I was blue in the face, no, Trump, there were not Russian bounties on the heads of troops in Afghanistan that Trump ignored. No, he did not gas and pummel protesters to take a photo shoot at the church. These things have now been proven false, but there's just virtually no reporting. There's no megaphone like the White House podium to shout that these narratives are false. But I think the best thing viewers can do is share with your friends, hey, no, that Lafayette Square thing, yeah, that didn't happen. It wasn't as reported. The inspector general found otherwise. The COVID lab leak theory Trump was so crazy to proffer, in fact, now looks to be true, or at least plausible. So, I think we've got to have accountability even in the aftermath. And that means all of us using our tiny megaphones to create a very big one.
Did any of the lies get to Trump? I mean, the very fine people one, to me, that's what Joe Biden used in his campaign launch video, that Trump defended the neo-Nazis. And it's like, no, he literally said, I am condemning the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis. When he said fine people, he meant fine people on both sides of the debate about statues, generally speaking. Did any of that get to him, or he was just like, that's what it is?
Yeah, I think, he was so used to, at this point, 4 years in, he was so used to the tired, old, false, defamatory labels of you're a racist, you're a bigot, all of this. Like, he was used to those narratives. I think the only time that I really saw something get to him, and I'm sure that got to him in the raw heat of the moment, years prior before I came. But the one thing that I saw really get to him was when there was the reporting from the Atlantic that Trump had called our fallen heroes, our fallen military men and women, suckers and losers. It's the one time I saw a negative story just become an obsession of his, because it was just so not true, so deeply hurtful. He kept saying over and over again, what kind of monster would do that? We had 24 sources on the record with their names on it saying this was not true. But they ran with the egregious lie because they were trying to cleave away the military base that is strongly supportive of Trump away from him. So, his taxes, that rolled off of his shoulder. He didn't care the New York Times hit pieces about his taxes, but he did deeply care about that one.
In retrospect, now that he's not president, do you guys think that there were mistakes made along the way, or that you could have done something different in messaging or anything like that?
Looking back, I don't think so. I'm very proud of the work we did. Sure, anytime I wish I would have had more time to deal with the Woodward story, but I can't help when CNN drops something. I'm someone who, the thing that I like least is when I don't have time to prepare. I had the thick binder, obviously. So, I'd spend hours and hours and hours. So when there was a new story, I'd regret not having extra time to prepare. But no, I don't think anything I said was a mistake. I'm very proud of what we did. I'm very proud of what President Trump did.
How is it for you being on the other side now? I mean, now you're on a daily show for an hour. I go on every couple of weeks. You get to fully share your opinions that I assume you don't have to run by anybody else. And you're obviously pretty uncensored as is. But just being in, now you're in the media. You used to be on the other side. Now you're in the media. How's that shift been for you?
It's a lot of fun. It is. But, I guess being in this each and every day in a different way, I sit beside Harris Faulkner and I see what an amazing journalist she is. And you've been on with us on Outnumbered and how painstaking she is in getting her details and her facts right. And I guess it's just even a little bit more frustrating to watch how a good journalist operates and then to have to report on how the bad journalists operate, like Cuomo, if you can call him that, or Don
right.
Lemon.
No, you can't. Well, you can use air quotes, then you can.
Air quotes, exactly. But no, I love it. I mean, being in the private sector is a lot of fun. I get more time with my daughter. I get to come on Outnumbered with you and podcasts like this. So it's a different vibe for sure, but a fun one.
Are you enjoying the collapse of CNN the way the rest of us are? I mean, you have to talk about it. When I was on Outnumbered last week, we talked about it with all the Cuomo nonsense. It's kind of what they deserve. Yeah.
What's weird is, like, I was at CNN for a year and a half and it was during the 2016 election. So, like, I know these guys pretty well. Every single night I sat on the set with, it was Anderson Cooper usually, but I would go on often to do Don Lemon. I'd wake up and do New Day with Chris Cuomo. So it's weird because I knew these guys. It's kind of it's your comeuppance, if you will. I mean, I remember being on with Chris Cuomo, and a lot of people have forgotten, but we had a rather viral exchange where he demanded that I call President Trump a liar, like demanded. It went on for like 20 minutes. And then he ended by saying, "You've lost all credibility with our viewers. I don't think we can ever have you back because you won't call Trump a liar." And it's just so ironic now to know that he was lying to his viewers about using his media contacts, but yet he was this paragon of virtue, shouting down Trump campaign personnel because he was so noble and forthright and honest. And clearly that was not the case.
Yeah. What do you make of just sort of what's happening broadly on the right now? Like, it seems to be it seems very wide tent to me in some ways. And then it also feels like, well, as we get a little closer to the midterms and then to 2024, depending on what Trump does, it could all be meaningless, whatever we're seeing right now.
Yeah, look, obviously 2022 is the most important, and that will determine, I think, a lot of what happens in 2024, because it should be a total shellacking of Democrats next November, and Republicans take back the House and hopefully the Senate as well. But assuming that plays out how most people think it will play out, we'll see if Trump decides to throw his name in the arena. I think he's going to be a very difficult candidate to beat, given that he's got sky high popularity in the Republican Party and an incredible track record. He had 4 successful years, and you can just contrast that to the 1 year of Biden. That's pretty clear. But we have the great thing, we have a deep bench in our party. We have Ron DeSantis. I mean, he's the best, like literally the best. And Tim Scott's incredible. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've got such a deep bench. And you compare that to Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, who is now, like a madman attacking her staff verbally and like vastly incompetent. So these two aren't it. And they're looking to Pete Buttigieg. But outside of this, like, handful of 5 people, who do they have? They have no one. And we have a really deep bench. So we'll see. The voters will ultimately decide. But between Trump, DeSantis, Tim Scott, many others, Pompeo, a great bench.
So I've been asking everybody this, but are you surprised how quickly this thing got so bad? I mean, we're only 11 months into this, and supply chain shortages, obviously all the stuff with COVID, mandates, just, gas prices, inflation, the whole thing, like across the board. I just don't know where you could point to something and be like, oh, no, it is going well.
I have to say, I am rather shocked. And for the first few months of the Biden administration, they were trying to put on this act of the adults are in the room now. Rest easy, breathe easy. We have brought back politeness and friendship with our allies, and we're going to be praised by Macron of being back on the world stage. And just, they had a lot of people fooled for about 4 or 5 months. And then Afghanistan happened. And I said at the time, this is a turning point. Unmistakably, this is a turning point for this administration. And from Afghanistan, the polling started to go south. And then everything else started to crumble bit by bit by bit, to the point where today I see the Wall Street Journal poll 41% approval, 30% among independents. So I didn't think it would get this bad this quick. And in addition to that, have voters totally wake up and say, wow, we recognize how bad it is. And for those kind of numbers to be here in December, it just shows you it's not just the pundits noticing, people are really feeling it at home.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about the media instead of nonstop yelling, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out the full episode playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.